Hello, my name is Oliver O'Keefe and I am the course leader for Year 0 in Games Design and Animation at Ravensbourne University. So today we are going to make a flipbook. There we go, one more time. We're going to make a flipbook. Now, flipbooks are a very, very simple form of animation and you don't really need that many materials, but I'll go through them with you now. We have a stack of A6 paper, we have an HB pencil, we have a Bulldog clip, we have some tape, I have my box of assorted felt tip pens, and lastly we have a light box. Now, you might not have a light box, and that's fine, they're quite expensive, you don't need to go out and buy one, but you do need some sort of light source. So you can use a window, you can use a monitor on either your computer or a television, or you can even use your smartphone. Brilliant. So if you can go and find those now, and we'll go ahead and make a flipbook. Okay, so before we start our flipbook, I've just got a nice little piece of white paper here. I've got my HB pencil, and I'm just going to sketch out, or try and explain to you, what I'm going to do for my flipbook animation. So, if you've never animated anything before, then a flipbook is going to be quite a fun, but possibly quite a challenging form of animation. So I'm going to keep it quite simple, or at least what I think to be quite simple. I hope it's simple enough for you guys to follow along with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to animate a burning match. Okay? So, what I want to do here is I'm going to do 3 drawings to start off with in my sketch here, right? So this is just so that I can get my head around what we're going to animate. So I'm going to draw my starting drawing, and then my middle drawing, and my end drawing, right? So the only reason I'm doing this is for my own kind of reference as I go ahead and do my animation. So I want to draw a frame, or a drawing, if you will, of what the animation is going to look like in the very first drawing, and then somewhere around the middle, and then at the end. And then, if you can imagine, in our flipbook, the bits in between here are going to be all those different types, different drawings or frames that we're going to draw in between those 3 reference points. So in animation, you could call this a pose-to-pose drawing, because you're setting out kind of 3 poses, if you will, where for the animation as kind of a reference point. Okay, so to start with our burning match, it's obviously going to be, it's just going to have been lit. It's going to look something like this. Okay, make sure you draw the black tip to it, because it's just starting to burn. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. Quite simple, right? And then I'd say somewhere towards the middle of the animation, your match is going to start to kind of curl, because that's what happens to matches as they kind of burn away. Okay, make sure you remember that the flame kind of will stay where the wood is fresh, right? Or unburnt. Something like that. Okay, and at the end, obviously your match is going to kind of be like a shriveled up match stick there. Maybe there's like the dying embers of a flame. That's the point in where you burn your fingers. Okay. Right. Well, I think that looks quite good. So I'm just doing that for sort of a reference point for myself, so I know where I'm going. Obviously, I'm going to be filling in all of these so that match kind of slowly starts to droop down like that and kind of burn out. So I think that's going to be quite a simple flipbook animation. You're more than welcome to follow along with me as I animate this. The principles are still going to be the same, as you'll see in a minute. But you could do all sorts of animations. If you didn't want to do something like this, you could do something, say, with a flower popping out of the ground like that. Okay, so there's our start, middle, and end. Okay, you could have, the flower sort of coming out like that. Maybe it's not quite open, and then the end, you've got a huge flower like that, some petals, whatever. So that movement in between, you're going to be moving that to that stage, and then that to that stage. Okay, whatever you feel like would be a simple animation to do. So if you're ready, I'm ready. We're going to go ahead and draw our burnt matchstick, and I'll show you how we do that moving forward. Okay. Right, so before we get started, here are the materials that we are going to be using. I have my my HB pencil. It's got a rubber at the end of it, but make sure you have your own rubber as well. I have a Bulldog clip here, and that's going to keep these pieces of paper together. I have a stack here of A6 card. Now, I would say a good number to start with would be about 24 pieces of cards. You might want to go a bit more. You could do 30, 36, something like that. But you want to obviously make sure you have enough cards so that when you flip through it, you know, it's not done too quickly. So I've got some really rather nice A6 card here. It's quite well weighted as well, so it'll be good for when it comes to flip. It's not going to flop all over the place. It's got a bit of rigidity to it. And we've also got 3 Sharpies here, 3 felt tip pens. I've got black, got orange, and we've got yellow. The trick with felt tip pens is that you make sure that they are permanent markers, okay? And that's very, very important. You don't have to buy Sharpies because Sharpies are quite expensive, but you want a felt tip pen that is going to be a permanent marker so it doesn't smudge when you come to sort of draw over it. Okay, so to start, we're going to take one of our pieces of A6 card. We're going to make our first drawing. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to draw it out in pencil, but I think as you get more confident, you might not actually need to draw it out in pencil, but to start with, we're going to draw it out in pencil. So if you think that to make our flip book, we're going to place the Bulldog clip somewhere around here, right? And then you're going to be kind of flipping it that side. You want your animation to be somewhere around here. So I'm going to place my first drawing of my match and around here. Okay, so this is just in pencil, and then we're going to go over it in pen in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to make that about that big. That's the head of my match. And remember, it's just started to be lit, so it's going to be something like that. And you're going to get over there like that. So there. Okay, very simple. There's our first sketch, first drawing on our first page, and I'm going to go over that with my black Sharpie. Okay, so I'm going to be quite rough with this. You know, we don't need to be perfect every single time. Okay, so I'm going to use yellow for the kind of tips of the flame, and then towards the middle where it kind of gets really hot, I'm going to go for an orange here, just a little bit of orange, okay? So there you go, there is our first match, okay? First drawing of a match. Now, what you're going to do, I've got a little bit of tape here, okay? So I'm going to tape this down on my light box here, okay? And then I'm going to get my second piece of cardboard, and I'm going to tape it down with it. Now, it's really important that you align that really closely, so that the drawing behind, or maybe best to do it like this, take your drawings like that, make them nice and straight, so that you can see here, and hopefully you can see it on there, you can see the drawing behind is reflecting through the paper. So what you're going to do now, I have to do this in pencil just to make sure, you're going to sketch over here. Going to continue drawing your match. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of the match away using that black drawing there. So the flame is starting already to eat away at the match. So we're going to get my felt tip here. Now, here's a interesting thing about the flame, okay? So you know how I just tried to follow the matchstick quite closely. Well, not that closely, but close enough. The flame, you can go ahead and draw as differently as you like. So you don't have to follow the drawing of the flame in the frame or the drawing before that. You can just go ahead and draw it in a different kind of way to the previous drawing, and that's called straight ahead drawing. So straight ahead drawing is where you simply draw the first drawing of your animation and you just keep drawing until you get to the end. This is actually what we're doing here, but it's particularly good for things that are quite erratic, like water, wind or fire. So the kind of more abstract or the more kind of erratic you make each drawing, the more kind of natural that animation is going to look. Okay, so there we go, we've done our first frame. So there's our first frame, and I might, just to keep things simple, might just write 1 down there so we know that's your first frame. Okay, so that's your second frame, it's gone behind, and you want to straighten those up again, like we did last time. As I said, as I go on, I'll probably stop using the pencil, and I might even stop using the tape, because it's going to start to tear a little bit. Because I might not need it as I get faster and faster, and you will naturally get faster and faster as well. But there you go, I'm going to continue drawing the match there, and I'm going to take off just a tiny bit more of the match head there as it starts to burn down. And then I'm going to continue that way. And then remember, make the flame slightly different to the one before. And go back there. There we go. Just going to label that as number 2. And then you're going to continue there, get another clean piece of paper, and you're going to slowly work that match head down as it burns down. What I'm going to do now with the magic of film is I'm going to speed forward so that you don't have to watch every single frame, and I will get back to you towards the end. Okay, so there we go. I have now got 24 pieces of cards drawn. I've drawn all of my frames. As you can see here down in the corner, I have been labelling them all, so I'm going to have to put these back in the right way. So what I found when I did this actually is that I started quite fast. So I started burning the match stick quite quickly, which kind of left with I was kind of left with a little bit of a dilemma, because I was going to finish my flipbook far too quickly. So what I decided to do is I slowed it down around here, around frame 10, and then I started to make more of the bend of the matchstick. And I also cheated a little bit, and I got an additional colour, Sharpie, which is grey, to illustrate some of the smoke coming off the match at the end, so that we can add a few more frames at the end, so to continue that animation. Because remember, as I said, if you don't include enough frames, it's not really going to work. So we have 24 frames here, which I'm kind of hoping is going to be enough. So what you want to do is you want to put those in order, right? And you want to get your Bulldog clip like that. Make sure that they're nice and straight. You're going to get that Bulldog clip, and you're going to simply clamp it together like that. Okay. So once you've done that, this is the test, is that you are going to flip it like that. If you flip it too quickly, it will be over within a second. If you do it too slowly, you're going to see that they're just 24 individual drawings. So what you want to do is you want to try and kind of flip it fast enough so that you can start to see the animation. So there you go. What I would do now is, because it's only 24 frames, you could go in and you could add actual frames in between those drawings to make it even slower, or you could make more of that smoke element at the end, or depending on how your animations come out, you can start to make more frames at the very end of that, and even sort of change the narrative of your animation. Maybe if you drew the flower suddenly dies, starts to die, and then maybe another flower takes its place, and you can just keep going and going and going. Anyway, there are loads of different types of flipbooks that you can do. As I said earlier, remember, trying to keep it as simple as possible is a really, really good way to start. Because as you see here, it's quite good. There are things that we can change about it, but you get better as you go along. And with the more practice, the better they'll get. Okay, all the best, guys, and have fun with it.